Let's talk about a topic that comes up every time I teach. And this year alone, I taught already 150 sessions. The question is on work life balance in consulting. Work life balance in consulting is not just a topic of conversation, it's deeply personal. I know it was to me, and it is to you. And so, because we're all seeking a semblance of work life balance in consulting, it's essential to think about where you're most likely to get it, when you're most likely to get it, and what to do if you don't have it. Let's dive into some of the conversation around work life balance in consulting to get more insights into places that do it well, places that could be better, and how you can optimize for work life balance for you. But before we do, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel. My first son, Zane, was born in the middle of peak interview season. Not only that, he came 2 weeks late and we had no idea what day he was going to show up. So what I did was I just kept working. Now, I had been a consultant, and at this point, I had left consulting, but I was still working in the consulting industry with Management Consulted. And I became super aware of a challenge that a lot of women and parents face, which is when do you stop working and where does your life begin? Well, what I ended up doing in that situation was sending messages from the hospital, staffing myself up, and then taking some time on maternity leave. But in reality, I was responsible for a lot, and it wasn't easy for me to completely detach. One of the benefits of our new work world with hybrid and remote work is that people are doing better at not requiring face time to equate to performance on the job. And because of that, a lot of consulting firms that traditionally had a very bad rap for work-life balance have become a lot better about allowing flexibility and creating work that works around your life instead of the other way around. Let's talk about the 3 elements of work-life balance so that you can evaluate the consulting firms with the best work-life balance. First is travel. Travel in a post-COVID world has changed so much, it's almost unrecognizable. Before COVID, I would have said, look, if you go to McKinsey, pack your bags and make sure they'll last a long time because you'll be on the road 4 days a week to somewhere in the world, doesn't matter where. But in post-COVID, a lot of clients have said, we don't want to pay for you to travel. We don't need to see you. We all worked successfully for a couple of years from home. And because of that, that coming together around the understanding that actually working alone can still be working, travel has diminished significantly inside the consulting field. However, there are some firms who still travel and travel more than others. So if you want travel, ask about it. If you don't want travel, ask about it too. The way the question goes now is less, is there travel? And more, tell me about the travel expectations for a successful candidate for this role. Second, you'll want to understand what remote work or hybrid work is like. There are some firms that were built before COVID on 100% remote models. These firms never had an office and didn't expect you to come in. Many of the big 4 firms actually were really good about hoteling, and they said work from home, work from a hotel, work from any office in the world. But now firms are trying to be more clear about their expectations about in-office versus out-of-office work. And some firms do expect that you'll be in the office 4 to 5 days a week. If that's something you want because it builds the culture you're looking for, that's amazing. Work from home or fully remote environments can sometimes be lonely. But if you are worried about having to go into the office day in and day out, staying late and more, then you might want to ask a little bit about the remote work expectations and how somebody will succeed in their first year on the job. Third, is cyclicality. One thing that's important to understand about the consulting world is that the work projects are very cyclical. Because of this, on the week that you start a project, you often won't have a lot of demands. You can play golf, grab lunch with somebody, pick up some dry cleaning. Very little is happening suddenly, and it's a very predictable week, often with very low hours that you'll need to work. The week before a project is due is a totally different animal. In fact, in my case, the only time I slept under my desk at Bain was 2 nights before a deliverable was due. And I realized that I was way, way behind. So there will be days that are worse for work-life balance than others. But on the macro, you'll find that the cyclicality of your projects will change the dynamics. So if you're interested in work-life balance, you'll want to understand what the cyclicality is of the industries that you work in. For example, in education, a lot of the decisions are made in different times of year than in other fields. And you'll also want to understand the duration of an average project and the cyclicality across a project. The most important thing when asking about work-life balance when you're talking to someone at a firm is not to present it as something you're trying to focus on. And here, let me explain this, because I'm not saying that work-life balance shouldn't be important to you. But when somebody comes to me and they say, I want to know what the work-life balance is at this firm or in your firm, the first thing I see is someone that feels unwilling to work. What you need to do is dive deeper into the aspects of the work culture, the nature of top performers, the structure and expectations of the workplace. That's different than even using the words work-life balance. So pay attention to how to get the information you need without downgrading your perception as somebody who's trying to avoid work or who is not interested in putting in the time to become great at your job. This was one of the big mistakes that I made in my first year at Bain, and why I wasn't rated a top performer when I had the shot to be that way. This was the feedback that I got at the end of my first year. They said, your work is great. You're very smart. You're great with clients. But sometimes we just feel like you care more about everything else you do than you do your work at Bain. We don't have to be more important than that, but we do have to be on an equal footing. And I did a bad job of managing my perception internally that I was willing to do what it took to answer the questions for the clients and to serve the rest of my team. There will be a season if you join a consulting firm where you will work really hard and really long hours. In your first year, you can expect it. But after that, the opportunities for work-life balance while still making significant impact and having opportunities galore to learn are pretty unparalleled outside of consulting versus in. If you want to have a conversation about work-life balance, your personal needs, and where you might fit specifically, ping us at team@managementconsulted.com or grab the link in the show notes to reach out. Thanks so much for joining.